Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen. Happy Easter! Today I'm doing the Easter book tag. So jumping right in, the first prompt is Rabbits Multiply. What is a book that you would like to have a sequel for? And for me, this one has to be The Last Book in the Universe by Rodman Philbrick. This is a childhood favorite, and around the age of probably like 10 or so, I used to write my own sequels for this book because it didn't have one, and I wanted one so desperately. I really wanted to see two of the main characters reunite, but since we don't get a sequel, we don't get to see that. Prompt number 2 is Egg. What is a book that surprised you? And for me, that is A Man Called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I used to go to this library that had like an exchange wall where you could leave a book and take a book. And so one day I went to the exchange wall to leave a book, and they didn't have a lot of good options that day, and I sort of settled for this one because it was the best sounding of a bunch of bad options. Not so much bad options, just options that I didn't think were my kind of books. This didn't seem like my kind of a book. I felt like this would probably be a pretty boring book for me, but of the options, it sounded the most, like, somewhat intriguing, I guess. But then it became one of my favorite books of all time. So this one was definitely a huge surprise. I knew nothing about it. I had never heard of Fredrik Backman. He is now one of my favorite authors. And so yes, big surprise with this one. Prompt number 3 is Hunt. What is a book that was hard to acquire? And with this one, I have another Fredrik Backman. I have Britt Marie Was Here. I have started slowly working my way through all of Backman's books. I read one per year. And after Ove, this one seemed the most intriguing. It seemed the most similar to Ove. And so I was really excited to get this one. And this originally I wanted this to be the second one that I read of Backman's, but I kept like using Christmas gift cards and stuff, and so I would go to the store to get a Backman specifically on that trip, and then the whatever store I was at, usually Barnes & Noble, wouldn't have Britt Marie. They would have Ove and like some of his other books, but for some reason never Britt Marie. And this happened 2 years in a row. The first year I ended up getting Beartown instead, and then the second year I ended up getting My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Starry instead of Britt Marie, which actually ended up being kind of a good thing because Britt Marie is featured in My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. So I did get a little bit of Britt Marie, and now I have finally gone and found Britt Marie and gotten it. So this is the one I'll be reading this year. Prompt number 4 is Lamb. Name a children's book that you still enjoy. And there's lots of children's books that I would still enjoy, but one that really stands out for me is Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. I just love all things Peter Pan. I have an entire Peter Pan shelf on my bookshelves. So this is a children's story that I enjoy in its many iterations. Prompt number 5 is Spring. Name a book that has a cover that reminds you of spring. And for me, that is Windfall by Jennifer E. Smith. I think these colors are just very bright and very springy. This is actually confetti on the cover, but it still just looks like spring. Prompt number 6 is Risen. Name a book by a deceased author. And I am actually currently reading The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I'm reading this one very, very slowly in addition to whatever I'm like actually actively reading, because these are pretty slow, kind of a slog. I've never been able to get through them before. I've tried several times in my life, and I finally decided that the way to do it was to just kind of read it in addition to other things and just do like a few pages a day. Prompt number 7 is Baskets. Name a book that is on your wish list. And I have 2 that are on my wish list. Obviously there are lots of books out there that I want, but these are ones where I want a special edition, which makes it a little extra special. So the first is The Princess Bride. I would like this really pretty version of The Princess Bride. I've never read The Princess Bride before, but I love the movie. And then another one is this really cool edition of Frankenstein, which I have read before. I don't usually like much older works. I actually read this for a science fiction literature class that I took in college, and it was definitely the book that I enjoyed the most that we read in that class. and honestly maybe the only one that I like really actively enjoyed. So for that reason, I think it'd be fun to own this really cool edition of the book, because I don't actually own the book. And finally, prompt number 8 is candy. Name a book that is sweet. And a recent read for me that is so sweet is The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This book is just like a warm hug, like sunshine, and all the characters are so sweet. So that was it for the Easter book tag. Happy Easter once again. Now on to the quote for today's video, which today I have one from The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, and it goes, "I fell in love the way you fall asleep. Slowly, then all at once." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.